I welcome congressional support for this effort in order to show the world that Americans are united in confronting this danger. Now, it will take time to eradicate a cancer like ISIL. And any time we take military action, there are risks involved, especially to the servicemen and women who carry out these missions.
Our Commander-in-Chief acknowledging the dangers of battle while encouraging congressional support for his plan as we prepare now apparently to take on ISIS. The announcement coming last night, the eve of this 13th anniversary of 9/11/2001. Here to go more in depth on what the president had to say and offer more on exactly the type of terror threat we are confronting, as well as how to deal with Americans who travel overseas to fight against us. We welcome back a good friend of this program, my former colleague, Congressman Ted Poe of Texas. In addition to being a member of the Judiciary Committee, since he used to be a judge, Ted also serves on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Ted, we thank you for phoning in this morning here on America's Forum.
Always good to talk to you, JD.
Ted, we will get to your thoughts about this particular date in history in just a second. But first, I'd like you to listen to some of what the president had to say last night and then get your reaction.
Our objective is clear. We will degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL through a comprehensive and sustained counterterrorism strategy.
Well, he says there's a comprehensive strategy. Do you feel as if there is indeed a comprehensive strategy after hearing from the president last night?
Well, the president said that there was a strategy. I'm not sure what that strategy is, other than he said what we're not going to do, no boots on the ground, and apparently he thinks that we should go to the United Nations and get their help and other countries. And he wants to arm the Syrian rebels and also rearm the Iraqi military. And that's mainly it, other than airstrikes that he mentioned as well. And so that's the strategy, and we can talk about that if you want to.
Well, we'll talk about some of the other reaction from other people on the Hill, on both sides of the Hill. We're going to get a sampling beginning on the Senate side. Democrat Carl Levin of Michigan chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee. And here's what he had to say. Quote, "The president tonight laid out a forceful strategy to safeguard our security and that of our allies by rolling back and eventually destroying a brutal extremist group," end quote. Meantime, Republican senators, including Ted Cruz of your home state of Texas, had a different take. Let's take a listen to what Ted and others had to say.
The objective should not be Iraq or Syria. The objective should be taking out ISIS, preventing them from attacking America. And what's been missing so far, we've had an air attack here, we've had a bomber missile there, but it has been photo op foreign policy. It hasn't been driven by a concrete military objective directly connected to our national security.
So there is Ted Poe, there is Ted Cruz talking about a photo op foreign policy. Our parent website, Newsmax.com, carries the story of many members of the GOP saying about the president's speech, technically, it was a sound rhetorical text, but again, where is the strategy? So what is the next step? Ted, the president asked for support, but he did not ask for a specific resolution from Congress. Should he have asked for that resolution?
Yes, I believe he should. It's Congress's responsibility to decide whether the nation goes to war or not. This is, you can call it what you want, but it's a war against ISIS. The president was somewhat timid, in my opinion, and the goal should be, what is the national security interest of the United States? Not Iraq, not Syria, not Saudi Arabia, but the United States. If it's the national security interest of the United States, which I believe it is, to destroy ISIS, then that should be our strategy. We are going to go destroy ISIS. the UN wants to approve or disapprove, that's fine, but we're not waiting on them. We don't need to wait on other countries. And I don't think we should put our national security interests in the hands of the Syrian rebels. After all, ISIS came out of the Syrian civil war and some of those rebels. Nor should we expect the Iraqis to take care of business, because when they were first confronted with ISIS, they dropped American weapons and took off running. ISIS is using those weapons now. So the president's strategy is, let's go back and arm those people over there. That is, to me, that is not the way it should be handled. So focus on what our national security interest is and use the effort to find them, seek them out, and eliminate them permanently.
And Ted, to your point about American interests, specifically our national security interests, you have introduced new legislation. You've got a new proposal, the Passport Revocation Act. Tell us about it.
Americans who have gone to Middle East and have joined ISIS, the Benedict Arnolds from this country, they are not welcome back in the United States. Their passports should be revoked because ISIS is a foreign terrorist organization. The United States is at war with them. Revoke their passports. Don't let them back in the United States. That's the legislation. And
I would imagine that the two committees on which you serve have jurisdiction on this. Have you heard from the chairman? Will they schedule hearings on this?
I have had discussions. There's no hearing scheduled yet, but yes, my Foreign Affairs Committee, in fact, my subcommittee where I'm the chairman, the Terrorism Subcommittee, will have jurisdiction over this legislation. We expect to move it in my subcommittee first.
All right. We will keep an eye out for that. The president talked about the terror threat here at home, which brings us to a report today in the Washington Times. We touched on it in our last segment, Ted, but it's worth repeating with you. The Washington Times reporting Homeland Security now confirms ISIS is looking to infiltrate the United States through our porous southern border. Well, Ted, it looks like this is coming to fruition. Is there a sense of alarm and urgency in Washington based on these reports?
There is beginning to be. You will recall, J.D., a month ago when I was on your show, you and I discussed this, and after I made the comment that ISIS wants to come to the U.S., they'll come through the southern border into Texas, the Pentagon said that is not true. And other people said it's not true. Now, here a month later, they are agreeing with the reality that ISIS will, if they want to come in here, the best way is to work with the drug cartels and get them into the United States. More people are being concerned about this on the Hill, the southern border. It has always been, it's a national security interest to protect the southern border. It's not an immigration issue. It's a national security interest. And so people are actually waking up to that threat that we have on our southern border.
So at least people are awakening to the threat. Ted, here's the irony. That same Pentagon that derided your statement on this program a short while ago works overtime to provide border security to Middle Eastern countries, to put up fences and barricades. Why on earth can't, at long last, 13 years after the fact, we finally grasp the knowledge and the realization of border security here at home?
It's unfortunate that our government is more concerned about protecting the national security borders of third world countries than it is protecting our own. This has been an issue and a problem that you are aware of, and those of us who live on the southern border have been aware of, but other people in government have been blissfully ignorant of this issue. And so the number one job of government is to protect America. That's their job. Our job is to make sure that happens. But our government protects other countries, not our own. It's time we get back and take care of America first.
And speaking of that, a little more than a minute left. Ted, are we in the position to prevent another 9/11?
There are a lot of things that are happening with Homeland Security and other departments that are doing a pretty good job of a 9/11. Now we have more responsibility because the threat is greater, and ISIS and these other criminals have expanded their innovative ideas. But I think we're doing a lot. We can always do more. But let's do the obvious first, JD. Go back, secure the border of Texas and Mexico. That will help tremendously. Let's do the obvious.
And Ted, on that note, we will thank you for your time and for your observations, Congressman Ted Poe of Texas, on this special edition of America's Forum, Remembering 9/11. Right now, let's take a look at the scene from the Pentagon, a special ceremony going on there in memorial to those who lost their lives. Right there, you see the President of the United States. There is more straight ahead here from Newsmax TV on this special edition of America's Forum.